Chapter 17 Matcha Green Tea Ironic Swirl. Things couldn't have gotten any worse. Gordon was physically and mentally exhausted. He had already been walking for over an hour and still had about 10 miles left to go. Even with his mask, the mere notion of climbing into a rideshare where dozens of infected assholes had sat earlier in the day made Gordon nauseous. Mentally, Gordon was tapped out. Even as his brain continued to spin in self-destructive circles, he was tired of the incessant, obsessive rumination. How pointless the whole day had been. What was going to happen to Penelope, and should he have said something during her arrest? Would the police process her car before someone vandalized it or stole it, or worse? Would her animals back on the ranch be okay during her lockup with only the pothead anarchist, who, by the way, couldn't spot a broken freezer in a lineup consisting of a single broken freezer? Was Mr. Fantastic doing okay? It had been more than a year since Gordon had been away from the dog for so long, and he hoped Mr. Fantastic didn't feel like he had been abandoned. Gordon was so tired of the unchecked rumination that he found himself developing a deeper appreciation for the simplicity of his happy little backyard bubble. By living a simpler life inside the infection-friendly Florida, Gordon had inadvertently eliminated most sources of anxiety that would have otherwise relentlessly plagued him pre-pandemic. Those struggles would invariably sap his energy until, on the worst of days, all he could do was sit in a darkened, quiet room and wait for his depleted emotional batteries to slowly recharge. After transitioning to his bubbled lifestyle with Jasmine and Mr. Fantastic, Gordon realized he had gone so long without exhausting those emotional batteries that he had forgotten the anxieties and triggers and everyday struggles of pre-pandemic life, and that his own mental emotional inadequacies still lingered dormant in his brain, lying in wait, ready to unleash a suffocating fury at the first opportunity. With every step closer, Gordon was reminded of just how far away the safety of home really was. On the best of days, this would have been a struggle. Today, Gordon felt brittle and fragile. He felt like it would only take a single, minor, insignificant additional crisis to push him all the way over the edge. It had been just that morning when Gordon was mellow, patient, and full of a stoic, measured calm, confident that in the end, things would eventually work out. It had been just that morning that Gordon felt like a normal person. It had been just that morning that, Florida pandemic aside and safely cocooned in his happy little backyard bubble, Gordon felt like he, at least somewhat, belonged in this world. It had been just that morning. And then Gordon just had to get an ice cream. And then, in the end, all the things went straight to hell. For some reason, he still clung to the handles of the blue paper thunder cone bag, liquid green ice cream leaking from the corner, and leaving a trail of melted tears in Gordon's wake. When he came across a gas station, he detoured from the sidewalk to pay his last respects to the ruined Thundercone order. He stood over a trash can that smelled like old hot dogs, Doritos, and spoiled milk. Gordon spared a thought for Kurt, his Thundercone ice cream hero, and how Gordon had refused the spooned sample of handmade green mint chocolate chip ice cream. A pleasure delayed was a pleasure savored. What a fool he had been! Gordon dropped the dripping bag in with the rest of the garbage. His heart sank even further, if that was even possible, as he continued to ruminate over how something so sweet and perfect and happy could so quickly become sour, stinking garbage. Things couldn't have gotten any worse. On the rare occasion that he came across another person walking alongside the traffic, Gordon veered far off the sidewalk to avoid any chance of potential cross-contamination. He traipsed through grass, slopes of drainage ditches, and other unwelcoming Florida terrain, the hem of his robe growing heavy with moisture and dirt. All the while, Gordon received odd or snarky or disturbed looks from his fellow pedestrians. Yes, Gordon just absolutely needed his ice cream, didn't he? He needed that perfect little distraction. He needed some kind of sign that everything really could be okay in the end, and god damn it, he absolutely fucking needed it to be mint chocolate chip. As Gordon walked, he realized that the ice cream, or rather his need for the ice cream, was no different than all the other forgotten anxieties waiting to strangle him. The need had always been there waiting. A need for hope. A need for happy. A need for the most profound kind of escape. But in the same way that his happy little backyard bubble had thwarted his other anxieties, Gordon's bubbled life had also, mostly, eliminated such a specific, fundamental need. A need that had since grown into a craving. Because everything was fine, right up to that proverbial event horizon where nothing would ever be fine again. And then the entire world fractures on its axis, and the need to escape, a craving for distraction, an obsession for something sweet and pleasant, becomes a fresh kind of suffocation that Gordon's anxieties could only aspire. A car horn beeped, startling Gordon from his dark, obsessive ruminations. He turned and saw a large, black SUV pulled to the side of the road just behind him. The driver waved at him from behind the wheel. Gordon blinked from the sunlight reflected off the windshield, and it took him a second to recognize the silver-haired woman driving the SUV. "Need a ride, kid?" Gloria asked when Gordon approached the passenger window. Gloria, what are you... How did... Gloria waved him to the back door. "Go on, get in the back. I've been at the hospital all day. You don't want to ride up here." For once, Gordon was thankful for his body's autopilot, climbing him into the back seat wordlessly because he didn't have the emotional bandwidth to even begin to express his gratitude, his sorrow, his anger, his utter loss. While Gloria was focused on merging back into the flow of traffic, Gordon blinked his reddening eyes, desperately trying to keep his boiling emotional state from spilling over. Breathe. Just breathe. Get home. Just breathe and get home. I saw your robe and thought, no, that couldn't possibly be Gordon. But here you are. What all happened that left you strolling your way home? Gordon rolled his window down, buying himself another second to shore up his emotions. Yeah, thank you, Gloria. Things haven't gone too well. What happened with your son? Gordon said, changing the subject in a desperate attempt to avoid talking. Gloria let out a heavy sigh. He's stabilized, for now, but the outlook hasn't changed. But you know what? Gordon caught her gaze through the rearview mirror. Gloria's eyes had brightened considerably. She didn't notice Gordon's own red-rimmed eyes. My granddaughter? Of course, yes, this whole thing is a terrible situation. Her father is on a ventilator, they're all stuck in Florida, and family vacation is ruined. But, Gordon, would you believe me if I told you she was actually wearing a mask? And not just one of those useless surgical masks either. She had been masked the whole time. Masking since the very start of the pandemic. She even told me that she had managed to get vaccinated 3 times without her parents knowing about it. You know, I can't even imagine. Wow. Gordon struggled for words. That's, I'm happy for you. That she sounds like special. Gloria smiled, still unaware of just how close to the edge Gordon was. Oh, she really is. And the orange sherbet, she loved it. We found a secluded spot outside to share it. We talked for a few hours. Her mother, total controlling bitch who, of course, was hacking and wheezing the whole entire time. Everyone was fighting with her to put on a goddamn mask. I told my granddaughter, I told her she would always have a place to stay with me, no matter what. I think that meant a lot to her. Gloria nodded slowly, no doubt conflicted by the experience of reconnecting with her granddaughter while her son lay tragically at death's door. She shook her head, dismissing her own dark rumination to focus on the present. What about you, Gordon? Did you get your ice cream? It was Gordon's turn to let out a heavy sigh, which trembled from frayed and exhausted nerves. No, well, I mean, yes, but things didn't work out. Everything melted, and, well, I just want to get home, you know? Gloria looked over her shoulder at Gordon, her brows knitted together in concern. She finally noticed the growing crack in Gordon's stoic facade. Oh, dear, I am so sorry, Gordon. You've been out all day. That must be horrible. Gordon neither had the emotional fortitude to put into words just how horrible it was, nor did the still rational part of his brain want to burden his friend with the crisis his day had dissolved into. No, not great, but the important thing, really, I just need to get home. I have to. Jasmine, Gordon, Gloria said firmly. Turn around and check the cooler. Gordon remembered that morning when Gloria had stashed her orange creamsicle sherbet in one of two coolers she kept in the back of the SUV. What do you, Do as you are told, all right? Autopilot took over again, and Gordon twisted in his seat. He reached into the back and lifted the lid of the cooler, staring wordlessly. The autopilot seized, and the roiling sea of emotions surged. He couldn't help it when a lump formed in his throat, and when the tears finally spilled over, Gordon couldn't help that either. Course, I wasn't expecting to see you again, but all that talk about ice cream and mint chocolate chip, Gloria was saying from the front of the vehicle. Her voice was almost muted to Gordon's ears as all those metaphorical waves crashed into him. And it was just so lovely getting to meet you, and then my granddaughter, well, I just had to swing by the Thunder Cone on my way home. Gordon, please, you are absolutely welcome to any of them. A tear rolled all the way down Gordon's cheek. It fell from his face, splashing into the cooler, full of the Thunder Cone's finest ice cream.